Yeah, so I'm from Lopez Community Land Trust and really appreciate peer-to-peer learning. When we began, let me see, it was in 1989 is when we put our community land trust together on Lopez Island. And one of the things that you can, do I need to tell you when to go through the slides or will you just
If you
go
can
through?
just say next when you want Ben to move the
Okay,
slide.
yeah, so you can go to the next one.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, so 1989, we have a service area of Lopez Island. It's a small island in the state of Washington in San Juan County. And we have two really primary programs, affordable housing, sustainable ag, and rural development. Next. And so since 1989, we do a lot of cooperative neighborhoods. That's probably our main focus. Got some rental housing. And Lopez Island, like I said, is a small, it's a kind of rural place. We have 143 acres of land and 3 agricultural leases. One thing I wanted to tell you is that I really acknowledge those who have gone before us. We have learned a lot from others who have done this work. Some of the founders, Greg mentioned, new communities, and also have a great appreciation of starting with something simple, doing it well, and then moving forward. When we first went to, I think it was 1991 or two, went to a National Community Land Trust conference in Burlington, Vermont. That is the first time that we really took in that farmland and food security were as integral to community land trusts as housing was. You can go to the next. So we focus on food security, regenerative agriculture, and climate change, in addition to housing. Next. Yeah, and one of the things that has happened for us in the beginning, in the late 80s and early 90s, um, we were standing on a farm in Vermont, and I recognize there was a gentleman there. He had farmed his whole life. And I think he was second or third generation on this farm in Vermont. And he had tears down his eyes. There were all these young people working around him. And the Community Land Trust had arranged a life estate, and he could no longer work his land. And the Community Land Trust intervened so he could live out his life on that farm. And that's what we tried to do here at Stonecrest Farm, which you can see, we purchased our first farm. It says 2018, but it was actually in 2017. And it was 48 acres, and it was with a life estate. You can do the next slide. And then in 2022, we had another farm, which was 42 acres, called Still Light Farm. And next. And then a couple years later, Barnell Bakery, which was a land purchase of a local bakery. Next. So before we were purchasing land where we live is very, very expensive. You can spend over $1 million on, 20, 30, 40 acres sometimes. And so I'm sorry for the vegans in the crowd, but before we started purchasing land, we did things in support of food security. And one of the first things we did was to get a USDA mobile slaughter unit. So it was a USDA unit that could come to local farms. That was part of our food security. People were having to take their animals off the island, sometimes up to 500-600 miles away from home. This was a very successful co-op. of farmers in our region and really started adding to our local food security and food sovereignty. Next. And then, again, land is expensive, but there are all kinds of things you can do. Published a book on farmers, food, and community. We publish a farm guide. We have been doing that for probably 30 years. And one of the nice things about it is that it is a simple way to raise the consciousness and local awareness of your what's happening in agriculture. And part of what happens in your communities, and I think Heather gave really wonderful slides, the progression of what happened in Athens is people start coming to you. They identify you not just as a housing community land trust, but a community land trust that um, primarily has a mission to hold land in trust for community uses, whether it be agriculture or housing. And they will come to you with different ideas. We have a farm to school program that we started that is probably 25 years old now. This farm product guide, the Bounty book, which celebrates local farmers, did another publication, Land, Water, Energy, and Resource Use, just giving people this understanding that a community land trust is really a land-based organization, and food sovereignty and local access to food are as important as, the other primary thing that we do, which is housing. Okay, next. One of the other things that is simple for us to do and doesn't take a lot of effort, we have a grain CSA, and this is a partnership with some local farms. They produce all the wheat. They do all the milling for us, and really the Lopez Community Land Trust is a broker for that. And it makes it really easy for the farmers to participate because we do all the advertising, we have all of the contacts with people, and then take all the payment. We make one payment to the farmer, and is all they have to do is notify us when it's all ready. And then people just go to the mill site, pick up their grain, it's already been paid for, and walk away. In addition to having it milled there, we have on our site where our office is, we have just a small mill in case people want to mill their grain, just independently. I think the point is that in addition to expensive and sort of long-term projects, like holding land in trust for hundreds of years, there are ways to bring food security through the community land trust programs. And it is all part of our overall mission of holding land in trust for community-based uh, activities. But you sometimes get to those bigger projects through your local engagement, and it's an awareness building and education. Next. Yeah, so this is, I mentioned the school program. This was a local philanthropist, Farm and Lopez Community Land Trust, who originally established. It's called the Life Lopez Island Farm Education Program. And it has been, I think, going on for 25 years at the local school. And every year, our role now is more to collect funds from our members and pass it on to the school rather than being directly involved. The school has now taken the program inside its own curriculum and operates it. We don't own the land there, but we, have pretty much a very long-term relationship with seeing this and having kids engaged with growing food, having a relationship with local food. The food goes from this garden into the school kitchen and is made available for lunches. And a lot of the kids are just so happy to not only grow the food, but have it show up on their plates, you know. Next. Another really simple way that we found, well, it's not always so simple, but we run internship programs. We do these for construction, we do them for renewable energy projects, and we do them for agriculture. And not just on the farms that Lopez Community Land Trust holds the land under, but other farms as well. And this is a way to bring people who are not living on the island, but bringing them to the island to help us with labor needs with our local food security. And they will stay anywhere from 6 weeks to 3 months. And, you know, it's livestock to vegetable growing, flowers. Sometimes they'll be involved in research about biochar and compost. And it's a way to introduce younger people to farming, but also introduce our island to younger people because we have an aging population here on Lopez Island. And this is one way, you know, these younger folks, like this year, I think we've gotten 36 inquiries for internships. They will come, they are hosted by local households. They'll do one day of work every week with the local host, and then 4 days on a farm or at the school, and learn all kinds of skills. And we have found this to be a very regenerative community uh, activity, not just for the farmers, but for the greater community at all, because they bring, you know, lots of interest in art, music, getting to know each other, just bringing other things to the island that we can use. It also, again, you know, is bringing awareness of our local agriculture to a wider group of people on the island. Next. And then every fall we do a harvest dinner. So again, you know, it's a celebration of local foods, local farmers, all the farmers, who, you know, who come are celebrated there. They're really important in our community as growers. They're, you know, have their own economic engine here on Lopez Island. And it's just a way to celebrate healthy food, community, and growing. So we do that usually in October. Next. This is another part of our sustainable ag and rural development. It's carshare, a little bit outside of, you know, the ag, but again, you know, climate emissions, you know, controlling carbon emissions is all very important to the future of agriculture and food. So we've introduced this car share as something that the Community Land Trust is engaged with. Next. Yeah, so that's the slides that we put together, and there's lots more, of course, to say, but in keeping with our brief introduction of our work, I'll go back to Pierre, and yeah, thank